Apple's market cap reached $3 trillion over the last few days. And I want to use this opportunity to discuss a concept which I don't think many people think about, but it's a very important concept for building wealth. And I'm going to use Apple, Tim Cook, and Warren Buffett to illustrate it. And by the way, thank you very much to all of you who have been commenting, liking the videos, and subscribing. In other words, you have been engaging with my videos, which is exactly what I asked for. I asked for engagement, and believe me, it is working. We are getting so many likes on each video, so many comments. I can clearly see the difference between how YouTube is treating my videos. So let's not stop that. Let's continue this. Okay, with that being said, if you are new to this channel, my name is Mariusz Skonieczny, and I run Microcap Explosions, which is a private membership website focused on microcap and small cap investments, where I discover those opportunities and present them to the members. I also published about 10 books on investing, and on this channel, I mainly talk about 3 investment ideas that I'm involved in, and they are Voxter, Oracle, and Globex. What made me want to do this video was the following tweet from Eric. So Eric, thank you very much for tweeting this. And it says, Tim Cook has been Apple's CEO since August 24, 2011. Over this time span, Apple's market cap has jumped from 340 billion to just 3 trillion. Despite this massive gain, Tim Cook is only worth 1.5 billion. Lesson: you don't get rich being an employee. See, I find it fascinating because the market cap went up almost 10x. So he made, by being the CEO, he created the value of $2.7 trillion for its owners, and he's only worth $1.5 billion. And now if you compare this to Warren Buffett, okay, who is not known for Apple at all, right? If you think of Apple, you think of Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, great products, definitely not Warren Buffett, right? And now Warren Buffett started buying Apple stock between 2016 and 2018. And he put in a total of about $36 billion into buying the stock. Today, that portion is worth about $150 billion. So in other words, Warren Buffett made about $110 billion on Apple. And he didn't even lift a finger other than press a button to buy the stock. And you compare it to Tim Cook, who's doing all the work, right? Who's doing all the work, is running the company, is spending probably all of his time doing it. I'm sure he loves it, but he's doing all the work, and he only benefits by being worth 1.5 billion, which is a lot, by the way. But compare this to Warren Buffett, who doesn't do anything when it comes to Apple. All he did is bought the stock, and he made $110 billion on it over this time period. And even compare it to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs' net worth was $10 billion before he died. And this guy from Omaha who drinks Coke on a daily basis, doesn't do anything to improve Apple, makes $110 billion. How unfair is this? But ladies and gentlemen, this is what capital markets are all about. You see, when you own a stock, the stock doesn't know that you own it. You can be a criminal, you can be a rapist, you can be a good person like me, for example, or you can be a bad person, and it doesn't matter, because what matters is the ownership. When you own things, that's what matters. So if you own companies that they add value, add customers, increase sales, increase profits, become more valuable, you as an owner benefit. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of research and development to make those companies grow, to make those companies satisfy its customers. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of skill. But now you, as the owner, you don't have to do that work. That's the beauty of capital markets. Remember how I said that the secret to making the biggest amount of money is to be able to combine time with skill and capital. But I didn't say that the time has to be yours. I didn't say that the skill has to be yours. Warren Buffett only provided capital. And he didn't have any skills when it comes to running the company. He had the skills to identify the opportunity and put the money into it. But somebody else, all these programmers, all these smart people with Ivy League degrees, they're the ones that are providing the skills. Tim Cook is providing skills. They're providing skills and time. And Warren Buffett, all he did is provided capital by buying the stock. And he didn't even inject that capital directly into the company. He just bought the stock. And he's the one that benefited the most, while so many other people are working and giving their time to the company, and he's the one that's benefiting the most. How can we learn from this? Let's categorize these things into 3 scenarios. One scenario is work, no ownership, work and ownership, and no work and ownership. So most people, what do? Most people have jobs, and then they provide their time and work for their employer. But they don't have any ownership. They don't have any equity in their company. So therefore, all of the work that they provide, it's only benefiting the owner, which is not them. So that's category number 1. Category number 2 is when you do the work and you're also the owner. And you see a lot of this where entrepreneurs in real estate or whatever, they want to control everything. So they feel like, they're in charge of their life. They're in charge of their success. So they own the business, and then they also work in that business. And then, they feel like this is the best way to get wealthy. And at a certain point, that is probably a good way. But when you're talking about big money, the third category is probably the best, because you can literally leverage it. In the second category, when you work and you own in a business, how many opportunities can you be involved in? How many skills can you have? You're very limited, and you are working in your business, and then at the same time, you're owning it. So again, that's the second category. But the category that we're talking about right now, because Tim Cook is in the second category. He's providing the work, but he also owns a little bit of it through, compensation. He gets some shares or options, and that's how he obviously became worth $1.5 billion. Warren Buffett, on the other hand, is in the third category, where he provides no work, but he's the owner, and he owns so much that he leveraged the company, he leveraged the company's work and skills, and he made the most amount of money. And you see, we can learn from this, because when we are involved in companies such as Voxter, Oracle, or Globex, look how much money we've been able to make because we are the owners. Did we do any work on it? No. Oh, no. Oracle's management, lawyers, they solve the legal problems. Oracle's management continues to progress the property, and we don't provide any work other than maybe occasional tweet here and there. But that's not work. And yet we're benefiting from somebody else's labor and skills. The same thing with Voxter. Gary and Jim are doing all the work. Do you think we would have the skills to make Voxter successful? Most of us don't have a clue. Just because I was a real estate appraiser doesn't mean I could do what they're doing. But yet I am benefiting from that by being an owner, and I'm providing absolutely no work. The same thing with Globex. We have a situation where somebody else is doing the work, Alain is doing the work, his team is doing the work, and we're just benefiting from that. But for both Oracle and Voxter and Globex, the people that are running the company, they're kind of like Tim Cook. They are doing the work, and they are also being the owners. But in this case, they are the biggest owners. So their work is going to benefit them the most because they have the most number of shares. And And that's great because they're motivated. But when you get to the level where you have so much money and you're dealing with bigger companies, usually the managers might not necessarily be the biggest shareholders. With small cap companies, that's typical that the founders or CEO is the biggest shareholder. But with the big companies like Apple, there's no way that a CEO at this level can be the biggest shareholder. There's no way. So in summary, I think this situation with Apple is fascinating for me to think about how Tim Cook is only worth $1.5 billion, while Warren Buffett's position is about $150 billion, and he made about $110 billion on it by being the owner of the company. And let's take this lesson, let's take this philosophy, or let's take this concept into heart, because we only have so many skills. And by becoming an owner, which is the most important thing, is what you own, we can be involved in many different ventures. We can be involved in many different stories, many different industries, and we can leverage somebody else's time, somebody else's skill, somebody else's work, and still being able to benefit from the success of those enterprises just because we are the owners. So let's think of ourselves as owners, and let's always act as owners. Thanks for watching.